Good morning here from the Duwamish, Suquamish, Muckleshoot, and Tulalip land that is in what is called the United States of colonization. Shai, Aria, or Shure. We say good morning and taking a deep breath with you. This is a posting in response to Joey Carbstrong's posting. Fish respond to pain in the same way that mammals do, or fish have feelings. Fish experience pain, and there's studies that fish respond to pain. And I'm really glad he's doing this work and trying to protect fish from unnecessary slaughter and talking about their sentience. And I want to speak to this because I don't necessarily think we need to look at research articles. I know everybody loves research articles, and it's like the new thing, really. It's contemporary society is built on scientific research, all this, and intellectualism. We tend to lean very heavy into the intellectualism, which is, it is what it is. It's useful. Like, I know how to do that. I could totally go there if that's what I wanted to do, but I don't really want to. I don't think we need to. I think all we need to do to understand that fish are sentient is to just pay attention. Just pause and reflect just a little bit on what fish are like. So fish swim around. They usually are in groups. They flail when they are out of water. And they look like they're in pain, honestly, when they are out of water and caught on a hook. I've seen this firsthand. I went fishing a long time ago in Alaska with my family, my Indigenous family, because that's what a lot of people in Alaska do for subsistence. And it was really jarring to see all these fish bodies, flailing around and wriggling in pain, and then cut open, and you see their blood, their bones, etc. And I remember just feeling like grossed out by the experience, and just like I didn't want to participate in it fully. Like, I think I did end up fishing at the time. I think I caught one fish or something. This was way back before I went vegan, and I didn't enjoy it. I was like, this is uncomfortable. They tried to make it fun and everything, but I can reflect on that and just think, like, these fish did not want to die, period. Like, and it's obvious, like, and we can draw a similar parallel. It's like, okay, we have babies. This is a commonly used example when we have these vegetarian, veganism, meat eating debates in philosophy. It's like, well, what about a baby or a disabled person or a person with different cognitive capabilities in the human population? So if we saw a baby or a disabled person, I'm not really sure what the proper language is, forgive me if that's an inappropriate term, and feel free to tell me if there's a better term to use. These populations are helpless. They tend to not be able to communicate like we can. Some of them don't even speak and just like grunt or cry. I mean, most babies, newborns, they are crying or they're flailing around. And what about mute people who can't speak like us? So when we look at populations like that, and if we like just observe what we think is suffering, we're like, that is suffering, right? We see it. We see a baby flailing around. We see them crying. We're like, that baby is sad. Why are they sad? Oh, they have a tummy ache. Oh, they're hurting some way. They're sentient, right? And so the same with like a disabled person. If they can't communicate like we can or think the way we can, we don't just assume, oh, we could just cut them up and eat them. They don't feel things. That's not what we think. We think these are sentient beings as well, who have desires of their own and who experience suffering. And we can clearly see it too. We can clearly see when they're suffering. They show similar physical behaviors, and you can just tell, you can feel it when another being is suffering. Same with dogs. So if you saw a dog get hit just say you're walking in the city, New York City or something, and a dog gets hit in the street by a taxi, and you see the dog, or not even that, just like laying there like helpless, and maybe they're twitching or something, and you know they're suffering. You know that the experience, you can extrapolate. You can extrapolate from your own experience and know that being is suffering because of all these various factors of what in our minds, in our cognitive experience, in our sensory experience tell us it is a feeling being that is going through something that they don't want to go through. The same goes with fish. We've blocked that part out somehow. We've liked to block out the fact that fish are sentient beings. And you can just tell, like, really just slow down and think about it. Feel into it. They don't want to be cut up either. And, you know, as an mixed indigenous Japanese person, like, I understand, like, how important it seems to be to our cultures and traditions, but we don't have to eat fish to survive, especially right now. Maybe there are parts of the world where you do, and that requires a different conversation, but for most people, we do not have to eat fish. We can let them be. We can thrive on a plant-based diet, a whole foods plant-based diet, like with all of the components you need to be a healthy person, with largely diverse, organic fruits and vegetables, cooked or raw, grains, legumes, nuts, algae, things like that. And you really don't need to eat animals. You don't need to eat fish. And I know this is a super controversial topic, especially in indigenous communities. And I feel like that also deserves a conversation. I think that, we need to talk about how to talk about these issues with different populations. We can't just be like, you're all murderers, stop eating fish, stop your traditional practices. Like, especially when you're talking to indigenous communities, don't be like, you're a bad person, you guys are murderers. It's like, no, you need to look at the history. You need to contextualize and understand why indigenous people find fishing important, why indigenous people some of them feel the need to fish now, and why you can't just attack them is because we're in a minority group that has gone through colonization, oppression, and genocide, and much, much more, and it is not your place to judge indigenous people like that. It is really, I think that it's most skillful to have people who are insiders like me to communicate with indigenous communities about fishing issues, issues around killing fish, because they're most likely to listen to somebody like me. They will immediately feel disrespected and like they're targets of racism by white populations, especially, or people that are outside of the indigenous community. So fish do have feelings, and I want to invite you to meditate with that and to get into the emotional, psychic, energetic, for lack of a better term, to just feel into the moment, to feel into the experiences of others rather than to intellectualize about it. We can intellectualize all day and not necessarily get anywhere with directly connecting with non-human animals. I'm happy that we can have intellectual conversations, but there are other aspects of being a human that can tell us so much about our existence that doesn't involve, having all these intellectual debates, reading all these studies, having scholarly discussions. That's not necessary per se. I will invite you to meditate, to introspect, to feel into different aspects of your body, your emotions, your mind, your body. So yeah, those are my thoughts on fish, and it is great to look at studies to see, that fish that prove that fish are feeling. But I think that in your heart and in your intuition, your spiritual being, that killing fish is harmful and that they feel suffering, that they would prefer to not die for our taste buds when you can actually get the dietary equivalent in a plant-based form. So some thoughts for the morning on fish. Say bye, Nadia. We're going to do another recording soon, hopefully with tea and more conversations. Nadia, say bye. Nadia, say bye.